Hi, I'm Philip and I'm passionate about raising healthy and strong leaders in churches. One of the biggest requirements in churches today is that of succession planning. The process by which to position new pastoral leaders to step in when the current pastor steps down. Inherent within the term succession planning is the implication that it's not done quickly, but rather it takes a season of planning and preparation.
The tree is a good representation of what leadership development can be like. When a tree is unable to bear fruit at the top, it's often because the process of growth at the roots, trunk, or branches have been compromised. To properly identify the cause, the farmers would look into the health of the roots and branches. Similarly, to produce good leadership successors, it takes years of patient development to grow the skills and character needed. This is even more important in succession planning. While it takes months to years to grow a cell leader, it takes years, maybe nearly a decade, to grow a good pastor.
People often feel that if the right pastor comes in, it will solve all our problems. Now, while a pastor with the right gift set indeed may solve many issues, total reliance on hiring externally in succession planning is leaving your planning to chance. You may have the right fit, or you may not. Now, don't get me wrong. There are valid seasons and reasons to bring in external leaders. But this approach is not the core of succession planning. Rather, succession planning is about building from within, where some questions are considered. Are there promising individuals that God has provided in your midst? What circumstances are present that you may leverage to start developing these gifts and character of these candidates? And what situations of crisis may be opportunities to challenge potential people to commit to serve? If you don't have anyone who is considering pastoral ministry in the next 2 or 3 years, then you may indeed need to hire externally during the interim. But you should not neglect the internal development of your leadership tree. You could look up our video series on the leadership tree for ideas on how to do so. On the other hand, you may have people who might consider pastoral ministry within the next few years. But there's no guarantee that they will become segment ministry pastors, nor effective congregational co-pastors, nor effective senior pastors, unless you do something intentional about it. And that's what this series is about. Growing pastoral potential people that God has given you within your pool to intentionally move them on the journey towards being effective pastors at various levels. This 3-part series on succession planning seeks to examine the levels of the segment ministry pastor, for example, the worship or missions pastor, or even the youth, if the youth is a segment and not yet a full congregation. And then the church-wide or co-pastor or congregational pastor, for example, the adult or cell groups or full congregations. And the senior or lead pastor who has oversight of the entire church. These are 3 natural levels of leadership development that pertain to growing as a pastor, and they are all precious. They form the higher levels of the leadership tree. For each of these levels, we will seek to describe several core skills that are indispensable to a pastor functioning at that level, as well as some inner life arenas that we observe God often engages the pastor to grow at that phase. Viewing this series and reflecting upon it will help you to do several things. Firstly, if you have people within your community you hope to groom them as pastors, you could watch this video with them, discuss some lessons that are learned. Or you could look for people that you're employing as pastors from the outside of your church at the various levels, and while you're doing that, you want to know what to look out for in the interviewing or in the discernment process. Or if you are yourself a pastor, maybe you're a segment pastor, you want to grow to become a congregational pastor, or a congregational pastor, you want to grow to be a senior pastor, then this series will help you examine what is the key skill set needed depending on your current or your next phase. It will challenge you to ask how God is providing opportunities for you to grow that skill, as well as to shape your heart in preparing for this next season for you. I'm always touched by Christopher Wren's story, the designer of St. Paul's Cathedral in London, one of the most beautiful buildings, when he journaled about the reactions of construction workers who were asked what they were doing. And often the time they were bored and tired. The workers would respond by saying, "I'm just laying bricks, I'm just carrying stones." But one worker seemed cheerful, enthusiastic about his work. And when asked what he was doing, he replied, "I'm building the most beautiful building in the world." The Bible reminds us that God is working on you. You are God's field. You are God's building. If you desire to serve the Lord, to shepherd His sheep, then all of heaven is on your side. God loves your heart for His sheep. He will grow your skills. He will deepen your character to be the building He intends for you to be, so that you will be a blessing to His church life.